There are two fence posts standing about 40 feet apart on the north side of this ranch. One of them my grandfather set in the spring of 1954. The other one I set myself in the fall of 2015. I was 42 years old when I sunk that second post. My grandfather was 57 when he sunk the first one. Both of them are holding wire today, but only one of them is going to be holding wire next year. And it is not the one I put in. There is a reason nobody at the farm supply will tell you why. I went out there with a flathead screwdriver 2 weeks ago. I did the test my grandfather taught me when I was 11. You push the blade into the wood right at the ground line. If it goes in past the shoulder of the handle, the post is finished. It is just a matter of when it falls over. My grandfather's post, the one from 1954, the blade barely scratched the surface. 71 years in the ground on this piece of Texas. That wood is harder today than anything I can buy new. The 2015 post, 10 years old, the screwdriver went into the handle, soft all the way through at the ground line. I put my shoulder against it and felt it give. It is going down this winter. Here's the number that nobody at the feed store talks about. The USDA Forest Products Laboratory has been running ground contact tests on fence posts in southern Mississippi since the 1930s. Same soil, same species of pine, different preservatives. They have tracked this for 9 decades. The most recent comprehensive report came out in 2013. Copper naphthenate brushed on the post at the farm has an estimated service life of 65 years. Creosote, 54 years. The old chromated copper arsenate, CCA, posts treated in the 1970s to proper retention had no failures after 35 years of burial and counting. Pentachlorophenol over 60 years. The residential pressure-treated post sold at the farm supply today, the one with the green stamp that says ground contact rated, the copperazole and ACQ formulas are lasting 10 to 15 years in average soil, and about half that in wet clay. A 4x4 8-foot post costs $12 to $18. Run a quarter mile of perimeter fence and you need about 88 of them. That's $1,400 in posts alone. And now you are buying that fence every 12 years instead of every 50. Somebody is making the difference on the other side of that arithmetic. The U.S. pressure-treated wood production industry is worth $10.1 billion a year. That is not small money. If you're the kind of person who suspects that math isn't an accident, turn on the bell below. You are going to want to hear what comes next. On December 31, 2003, the chromated arsenical manufacturers in this country voluntarily discontinued making CCA-treated wood for residential use. That is the exact date. You can look it up at the EPA. There was no law passed. There was no ban. The industry agreed to stop. By January of 2004, almost every pressure-treated post sold through retail was being treated with something called alkaline copper quaternary, called ACQ. A few years later, manufacturers switched to copperazole. More recently, micronized copperazole. All three treatments share two characteristics. First, the copper does not penetrate the wood as deeply. Second, the preservative leaches out faster when it rains. The green stamp on the end of the board stayed the same. The chemistry behind it did not. Nobody at the farm supply is required to tell you that the post you are buying today has a service life of about 1/3 of what the same looking post had in 1978. The stamp still reads ground contact rated. The Industry Standards Committee approved the new formulas. The tag says treated. Everything is legal. Everything is compliant. And the wood rots out from under the wire in a decade. You pay for a 30-year post. You get a 10-year post. Here's the part that people who never left the ranch already understood. Before the 1970s, you did not buy a fence post at a national retailer. You bought it from the sawmill down the road. The sawmill cut Osage orange, black locust, or red cedar heartwood. Those posts are still in the ground on farms across this country. They were set before anybody watching this was born. A hedge post my neighbor found on his family's Kansas property was put in by his great-grandfather, 108 years old, still tight. Nobody ever treated that post with anything. The wood was the treatment. There are 3 ways out of this. The first is to stop buying retail posts entirely. Call around to the small sawmills in your county. Ask specifically for Osage orange, which is called hedge in a lot of places, or black locust, or red cedar heartwood cut to full length. The price will surprise you in the right direction. Those posts will outlive your ownership of the land. The second is to treat the post yourself before you set it. Copper naphthenate. Concentrate has been sold as a brush on farm preservative since 1947. A quart runs about $12 and treats 20 posts. The application is what the USDA Mississippi study was measuring, 65 years on a properly brushed pine post. I covered what goes on ranch wood above the ground line in the deck video a few weeks back. Linseed oil and wax, the old Madison formula. This is the opposite end of the same problem. Linseed oil on what sees the sun, copper naphthenate on what sees the soil. Different chemistry, same grandfather. The third option, if you have to buy retail, is to demand 0.60 retention cc A posts. They are still legal for agricultural use. The feed store will have to special order them. Most won't volunteer that they can. Walk back to the north fence with me. Look at the 1954 hedge post and the 2015 pine post standing 40 feet apart. One of them was set by a man with a shovel and a post hole digger, and an idea he learned from his own grandfather. The other was the cheapest option at the farm supply when I needed to get a job done fast. 71 years against 10. That is not a durability difference. That is a different business model. I am standing at my grandfather's post right now. The wire is tight. The wood is hard. He paid somewhere around 20 cents for it at a mill that closed in 1983. Nobody will sell you a post like this at Home Depot. They sell you the 2015 post, the 2025 post, and the 2035 post. 3 posts to do the work of 1. A $10.1 billion industry runs on that arithmetic. Tell me in the comments what part of the country you are running fence in and how long your last set of posts lasted before they started to soften. I read every one of them. Stay with this channel. Next week, I'm going to show you the spring water line my grandfather cut through this place in 1961. The utility company has a reason they never come out here. That reason is a story worth hearing.